Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 87 of Storyteller Conclave. This is a show all about helping you run the best tabletop role-playing game that you can, whether you're a new storyteller or dungeon master learning the craft, or an experienced storyteller looking to take your game to the next level. I am Sarah.
And I'm Rob.
Happy Listener Appreciation Day.
Yes, very much so. And happy holiday.
Happy holiday.
And almost Happy New Year.
Is it a Happy New Year?
I don't know. We'll find out in a couple days here.
We'll find out if it's going to be a Happy New Year. We're hoping.
From our conclave, it will be a Happy New Year.
Yes.
We are looking forward to finding what the new gaming normal is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully finding out that conventions will be able to do things.
Yeah.
And what the new year brings. So what new stories we'll find.
If conventions become a thing, you might be able to to drag me to one or two.
Okay.
You know, I'm not generally the convention person.
I know.
But,
people, big things.
I'm trying to expand my horizons. So,
I think it's a great idea.
But we'll see what the future holds, and keeping our fingers crossed for better things coming forward.
Did you get any gaming stuff for your holiday?
I didn't really.
Okay.
We didn't really do the holiday stuff. We're not really big holiday people.
Okay.
I'm
you
Wiccan.
Get what you need.
Yeah, I'm Wiccan, so I don't make a big deal out of Christmas or anything like that. So I just don't, But what I did have for the holiday was I had my game.
Okay, yeah, which was great.
So I had my friends there, and we played D&D. So that was my gaming gift.
Yes, and it was wonderful.
I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, you're really enjoying Foundry, which is great.
Yeah,
it's good to see that, and you're incorporating of your music and tone really was helpful. I think you're coming into your own with Foundry, and I like it. I like where it's going.
It's allowing me easy access to multimedia, production stuff, which is I think where I excel.
Yeah,
my love of miniatures and my love of building terrain and stuff like that. And so pre-pandemic, those of us who were looking on Instagram saw me building some pretty elaborate terrain sets and stuff like that.
Yes.
But Foundry kind of allows me to still do that in my games. With that, between Dungeon Draft, Dungeon Fog, and some chicanery up in Foundry, allows me to do some really interesting stuff. So I still get my flair for the dramatic, and it feeds that.
Yeah, I got my game coming up on Sunday.
Yep.
So just after the new year, it's been a little longer than I've wanted it to be, but all kinds of holidays and things came up. Again, running at Foundry should be interesting. I got a couple maps I got to throw together in there, but it's I like it as a system. It's a good kind of level point that I've come to with it. Also just looking into some of the new ideas we have for shows for this next year is interesting, and just ideas we have for next year. Yeah. So one of which is that we are going to be reaching out to more, shall we say, not only sponsors, but like different avenues for ideas.
Yeah, I think so.
So you may see some new stuff coming up. We'll see how much energy our next meeting brings and where we want to be. One of the things that we did have one of our listeners help discover was we made a connection with Elderwood Academy.
Yeah.
And if you're unfamiliar with them, they are a fine crafter of gaming gear. Mostly dice vaults is what they call them. They're magnetic sealed, very beautifully crafted wood and leather appointed boxes for your dice and rolling surfaces. I actually got one for Vic back when I went to Gen Con. They had at that time it was brand new, they had a dice box, dice vault that was big enough that it had a big tray in it for rolling, as well as a board on it that you could write on the inside.
It's like 7 or 8 inches or something like that?
Yeah, about that. Like a small journal size.
Yeah.
But the outside of it was done up in leather, blue leather, and it was done as a police box, the Doctor Who police box.
Yeah.
And she's a huge Doctor Who fan, and I got that for her, and she's loved it and used it constantly. And funny enough, I'd never gotten back to get something for myself, of course, because I'm terrible about getting things for myself. But then about a little over a month ago, we had some people reach out to us, and one of the friends of the show, and we ended up with a bunch of product to review. And so, actually, next show we're going to be talking about tools and things, and we're going to actually talk a little bit more about Elderwood stuff. But we thought, after we were done kind of looking at everything and getting our write-ups done, we would share this with you guys.
Yeah.
So we actually have a number of pieces from them that we will be doing in the giveaway today. And they are quite nice. I know not a lot of people have had a chance to do face-to-face gaming, but having a nice dice vault and the mini ones come with dice, which are nice, and a couple other pieces we have. I thought would be good to do as our giveaways.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely, and they're great little travel things too. So if you're going on a trip or something like that, or if you just don't want to cart a bunch of gaming peripherals around, these make it very portable. They've all got rare earth magnets on the inside.
Yeah, they're really strong.
Neodymium magnets.
I think so.
I forget how you pronounce that. But little magnets on the inside, very very strong magnets that hold these things together. You got to put a little elbow grease to get them open. So. No real threat of them just like popping open and disgorging your dice everywhere.
Exactly. And the mini vaults themselves are actually almost palm size. They could fit in the palm of your hand. They've got a keychain hanging on them. But they are etched with a couple different designs. I'll show you guys what those are as we're doing the giveaways. But they're really nice quality. Like, they're high-quality woodwork, and I love seeing that kind of stuff.
And the guys over at Elderwood are just great too.
They're great fun. They're
real great. So the bit we've had to be able to talk to them about the products and stuff like that. So it's just a great bunch of people over there. So
yeah, this year I kind of want to give people a little bit of time to get in to chat, but it's been a neat year.
Yeah.
Overall, besides like the pandemic and everything else, I mean, as far as the Conclave goes, we've done 87 episodes since we started.
87.
We pounded through this year here in this space, and it's just worked.
Yeah,
which is nice. We stayed healthy, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Despite some sniffles.
Yeah,
for the most part,
here and there, and then of course the anxiety thereafter of like, is this just the sniffles or know?
So, but we saw that some people had thrown some questions to get started, which is nice. We appreciate starter questions; those help all the time. So let's do a starter question, and then we'll do a giveaway.
All right, great.
Let's start with Knox.
All right,
because Knox is our resident hype man.
Hype man.
We loved that; it was fantastic. So, when it comes to homebrew or tweaking content, how exactly can we make sure we're playtesting our systems effectively? Should we leave tools and systems for players to recreate tropes because we expect them to, or does that hinder players' creativity? That's interesting. Like, I see where you're kind of going with it.
Yeah, this is a really good question. So, when it comes to homebrew or tweaking content, how can we make sure we're playtesting our systems effectively?
Let's start there. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good two-part question. As far as playtesting and stuff that goes, I'll be dead honest with you, this is always a huge source of anxiety for me. Anybody who's been watching the Discord saw that there was a conversation that took place between me and one of the representatives who dropped in on us from Pinnacle about Savage Worlds, and so I had a bit of a discussion with him, and saying like, I generally tend to want to play the game as intended.
Yeah.
Simply because I trust the developers to have balanced it,
Right.
I'm the same way with video games, too. Like, everybody's like, oh, you gotta load all these mods for Skyrim. It's, they do this cool stuff. And I'm like, do I have to load mods? Like, I kind of don't want to alter the game experience because, like, I don't want it to throw in a bunch of stuff that... Okay, look, that's different. You're giving me the stink eye right now because we're playing Minecraft modded in our free time now. But that's different.
I'm just going to sit over here and look at chat because there's a lot of people talking.
What I'm saying is, I don't like it when somebody includes like, oh yeah, here, we had this mod that adds this sword that just does a ridiculous amount of damage.
Fair, okay.
And so you get that, and then you start one-shotting every enemy in the game, right?
Yes, Overwatch Arc.
So... There's a big difference between quality of life mods and we changed the game balance mods, which is what I'm getting at.
I think that is where you were going. I was trying to help
what
you
I'm
get
getting
there.
at. Yes, is changing the game balance is a thing, and I generally trust the developers of their own games to have balanced their game systems. So
yes.
I don't like homebrewing when I can help it.
Fair enough.
D&D specifically, and especially the less familiar I am with the system, like for Savage Worlds,
Right.
The less comfortable I am to just start willy-nilly altering that system and then thinking it's balanced. So,
Yeah. I think as far as tweaking content, I've kind of learned over the years, much like we had discussed in the past, is that when we tweak content, it's not so much tweaking the rules and structure of the system so much as we are changing terms. And if, for instance, I may say something is like we were talking with Division, which is a good example. We're just converting the words, this is a magical device into it's a gun.
yeah.
It's
a highly technological device
gun. Yeah. Oh,
that does a pseudo-magical thing. Yes.
It's a floating auto turret. Okay, great. There are spells that do that exact thing. Let's just use that instead.
Yep.
Yep. It's got a technical life expectancy and it lasts this long or whatever. Perfect. That works out. So realistically, anytime that you're going to do that, always be concerned about the quality that you're going to get out of it. And another thing, if you're home brewing, like we had talked in the past, when you take a home brew, is that find the one focus point that's important. Is story important in the game? Is your players' role playing important? Then find a system that fits that. Don't find a highly tactile system and change it. We're going to be doing moving minis all the time. That's not what you're focused on.
Right.
So look for that focus point and move from there. As far as leaving the tools in the system for players to recreate tropes, I always think when you're doing a story, especially a homebrew or an adaptive story, for instance, like, you want to do your own Discworld game or something like that, players should always have an idea of what you're expecting them to be in the story, right? That, this story is about a bunch of guards, and so I'm expecting you guys to all be tropes of guards or a character who's a guard.
Sure.
When I do my 7th games, I set the stage of the scope, and I set that scope so that players can do what they want with it. I think beyond that, it's really up to them to do what trope they fit into, and then, adapt around that a little bit with the story.
Yeah. I don't. I've got some other thoughts on this, but I do want to just real quick address what Knox in the live chat is actually saying. So it's just a game. Games are not holy things that shouldn't be messed with.
Yeah.
And I don't think homebrewing or not homebrewing is about it being sacred in some way and not wanting to alter it. But to kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about is like somebody says, okay, well, there's no real rules that allow me to play, I don't know, a sorcerer that turns into a dragon or something like that. I mean, I know there's draconic sorcerers. I'm just throwing this off the top of my head. Okay, cool. So you want, or like a monk, maybe a monk that turns into a dragon, okay, cool. I think there was some Unearthed Arcana stuff, or maybe something in Tasha's that did that, but
probably,
so they say they throw out that idea, and you're like, okay, well, that seems feasible. Maybe we can throw together some rules and do that. But what typically I foresee happening, at least in my anxiety dreams about these sort of things, is that so you've first off allowed someone at your table to go outside of the established rules to do something. Okay, now that sets a precedent. Okay, so you have allowed person A to do it. Person B may want to do it as well. Okay, so now you kind of have to allow everybody at your table to wiggle the rules to allow themselves to do these things. You can't say yes to one and not no to another.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is that unless you really have a good handle on the rules, anytime you homebrew something, it may look good on paper, but you may end up with that one rule interaction that allows them to one-shot dragons. Because it says that anything huge or bigger or whatever does this, and I have this ability now, which was never intended because you homebrewed something, and so I can just kill him, essentially, or teleport him out of some different dimension, and we don't have to deal with him.
Right.
And you're left at the table going well, that's not what I intended when I allowed for this homebrew, but rule as written, and we all agreed on this, that's kind of how it goes now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got those players who, when they find out something like that works, well, when you get a nice big hammer, every solution starts to look like a nail.
Indeed.
And then they just start using that to get rid of all their problems, and you need to retcon stuff, and you need to start having some adult discussions between your players going, okay, I allowed you to do a thing, but I need to not allow you to do that thing anymore because it's screwing everything up, and you risk the run of hurt feelings.
Yep.
Of, well, I'm just trying to play my character the way that my character is supposed to be, and you're telling me I can't play my character. So it can get messy. You can open up a real rabbit hole with homebrewing. So, like I said, it's not about it being sacred. It's just about it being a can of worms potentially.
Yeah, I think that was a good way of putting it. All right. I think we've had some fun discussion in here about things that got messed up over time. A PC as an enchanted weapon. Ooh. That
who controls whoever's in possession of it. Oh, that's an interesting idea, actually. I'm not the player, I'm the sword. The sword is just the guy holding me.
Right,
the player's just the character is just the guy holding me.
Right. And now like somebody else picks it up and suddenly the conscious changes.
It reminds me a little bit of Castiel from Supernatural, if anybody's seen that.
Yeah.
Where he's actually just some guy, but the angel has been invited in. So that's who he is, So Knox says 10 different people will play the same game, but they won't all have the same experiences. So what does it matter if you change how the game was intended? You won't get intended regardless. I kind of see where you're going with that. It's going to be an individual game one way or another.
Right.
It is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it depends on your gaming group. I mean, I could probably get away with it in our gaming group. Mm-hmm. Because I know everybody, I'm comfortable with everybody, and I trust everybody to act like rational adults.
I think that's a huge part of it.
But I think not all gaming groups are created equal.
Correct.
And so, especially if you're in something like Adventures, well, I mean, you can't really do Homebrew in Adventures League because it's all standardized. But,
right.
If you're doing
you could do a homebrew story.
What I'm saying, though, is if you're doing a pickup game, with people you're not comfortable with, mm-hmm. or with people who aren't mature adults or can't handle things like mature adults, some people can take their role-playing games very seriously.
Yeah.
To the detriment of the group. You know? So
always be prepared.
Always be prepared for that.
Yep.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
All right.
Okay.
So we have our first giveaway.
All right.
These were also sent with us from Elderwood Academy. They call them a catapult kit. I am calling it a dice-apult. This is for when you have dice that should go in a dice jail, but they screwed up way more, and they just need to be flung somewhere in the general vicinity of things. So for this one, if you are in live chat and you want to be part of this giveaway, please put a let's do D20. So type D20 in the chat, and we will add you to it, and we will give it a couple give it a couple seconds here, so you guys can all get queued up for this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are laser etched into a single piece of wood, so you can pop them out. It's really nice, actually.
Yeah, really nice, really compact.
Yeah. Easy to ship too, which will be really nice for us to do. So
put the thing in an envelope.
So slap D20 in the chat, and we will put you in the running for this.
All right. While we're waiting for that to come around, do you want to handle another question real quick, or
Sam had a pre-show question.
Yeah.
How do we feel about using D2 to make decisions, aka flipping a coin? I mean, I think I think it's just as random as anything else. The only problem is it's a sometimes too simple fate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the right system, sure, I don't see a problem with it. I think you could definitely play a game like Paranoia with a D2, where like, okay, you come up to the terminal. Do you touch it? Do I have to make a roll for it? Kind of like a fate thing where I'm, when I pull in the jingle block, I'm like, I don't know. You gonna do it? You gonna walk through? Flip the coin.
Maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never used the D2. Typically, I'll at least go for a D6.
All right.
And just 1, 2, 3, high and low on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I don't think I've ever used a D2 as like a game decision maker, like as a resolution.
I remember a game master that I was playing with years ago when I first started playing. We had a rules situation in Palladium that wasn't really well written out, And he was just like, okay, heads it's this, tails it's this, and flipped a coin.
Yeah, see, that's where I typically hear the coin flip, is not for, like, actually deciding in-game events, like, from a standpoint of, does the trap go off or not, on a 50-50 chance. But more from, like, we can't agree on what the proper reading of the rule is.
Sure.
So let's just flip a coin and we'll hash it out later.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's typically where I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever come down to it, though.
Okay.
Like, most times, like, you and I had a bit of a rule confusion.
Yeah.
It was more confusion. I was ruling it one way. You were confused why I ruled it that way, because I think I wasn't communicating it well enough. But, in the moment, you were like, okay, I don't understand, but it's fine. Just go on with your story. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then when we did go on break, I was like, hey, before we go on break, what was it you were trying to say to me during the game?
Yep.
And you said, okay, well, I was confused about this and this and this. And I said, oh, okay, I understand. Here's what the adjudication was. Here's why I ruled it that way. And you were fine.
Yep.
But that's typically what happens during my games. But I don't think I've ever used a coin flip.
I'll agree with Sam. I've flipped a coin for a character to make a decision on a character before. Like,
really?
Do I play this character or do I play this character? Flip the coin. I've done that.
Which character to play?
Yeah, I've done that. Where, like, I've written up 2 different characters, and everybody else has made their choices, and nothing weighs out. Yeah, totally. I could see that. Yeah.
Overwatch says, also, coin flips make it really hard to factor in bonuses and negatives.
That is true. That is super true.
Yeah, because any bonus literally offsets the entire die. Or the entire thing.
Well, at this point, we went through the question, and looks like the Mad Elf is getting it. So this one is yours, Mad Elf.
All right, cool. Congratulations, Mad Elf.
Yeah, we're going to go through these gifts pretty fast here if this is the way things are going to go. So
yeah. What are they? Two-face? It's a D2 is just a fancy way of saying a coin.
Okay.
Oh, what are they? Okay, I gotcha.
That's funny.
He's making the Batman joke. Sorry.
All right, so this one is the Dragon Dice Vault. If you got the picture for that one, you can put up.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, these come with dice, so they're yeah. There you go. Thank you. So yeah, these dice vaults are really nice.
I'm gonna take a picture of you holding it so they
Yeah.
can kind of get a scale for the.
Yeah, definitely. Because gets you a scale for the dice and for them.
So these are little keychains.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it took a whole picture of my show sheet too.
That's
well,
funny.
Well, you guys get to get all a preview of that then. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. We have some of the questions up. But yeah, so if you are interested in the Dragon Dice Vault, I think this is mahogany. This one's, or is this oak?
I want to say it was mahogany or something like that. We got mahogany, a Paduk, and a Purple Heart.
Yes. Okay.
And I think that was the mahogany one.
Yeah, and it's very, very nice.
As you can see, it's small. It's only about like 2-3 inches, something like that. But really good for just like a travel kit.
Yeah.
So if you're not looking to lug all of your dice with you, you just want something nice and cool, and it's very decorative.
Yeah. So that's going to be our second one. What do you want to do for that one in the chat?
Oh, we'll just do dragon. Type dragon if you want to be in the giveaway for that particular one right there.
Yep. When 2d6 damage becomes a real thing, that all depends. I think 2d4 would be more damaging.
Oh man, the D4 have always been the caltrops of the dice
always.
Of the dice world.
Like, that'll be a good question. How many times have in our community have you stepped on a die? Well, like post gaming, not during a game session, but like you've someone left a die out and you ended up stepping on it.
I don't think I have a story for that, but I have kind of a different story about losing your dice on the floor.
Okay.
And this is one that one of our Patreons, Sparkle Motion.
Oh yeah. Okay.
A personal friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, since high school, in fact. So they and I have played together in this game a long time ago. We had a mutual friend, and who I'll call Tom for the sake of this. So Tom was playing this character who was like a ranger, and he was supposed to be like real eagle eyes, sort of thing, really high perception check and whatnot. And so my character was I was actually playing a lawful evil character at the time. And so everybody was kind of like, why is this character such an asshole? Because nobody actually asked me why I had a chip on my shoulder. They just understood that my character had a chip on their shoulder and then thought that they were a jerk. So I was trying to make some effort to, like, personalize my character to the group so they kind of understood that, like, you know, why my character had these dark aspects to their character. And so I was giving a speech.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially ingratiating myself to all of the people in our party, saying, like, okay, we've got a difficult task ahead of us. This is going to be a trial like we haven't had in a while. You know, so you, wizard, we're going to need your keen magical senses and, you know, grasp of the arcane to let us know when the unforeseen is, you know, when the ephemeral is going to interfere with us. You know, we're going to need your acrobatics, thief. To get us into places where we ordinarily wouldn't be able to go. We're going to need your strength, warrior, to, you know, persevere over things that require might. And I turn to the character that Tom is playing, who, again, like I said, is supposed to have an off-the-chart perception check. And he's digging around underneath his seat, like, not even paying attention to me. And I go, his character name was Quen, and I go, Quen? And he's like, hold on, I dropped my dice. And I just kind of rolled with it in character, and I just went, Quen. And he goes, what, they're clear?
That's
like,
awesome.
that solved everything. So
That's
we just,
awesome.
I don't know, for some reason, we just got a big chuckle out of that, because
good
old eagle-eyed Quen can't find his damn dice.
All right, roll that d6. Let's see who we got.
Alrighty, we got a 2.
Okay, well, that's already been pushed out. So it goes to... Let me do a list. Oh, that goes to Aventadora.
Aventadora, all right. Congratulations, Aventadora.
You get to enjoy a lovely dragon dice vault.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
All right. Our next dice vault goes to... Is the... this is the purple wood.
The purple one with the tree on it?
Yes, Tree of Life.
Okie-doke. And so same size, same model, so it's a small keychain sort of thing here. But this one is a nice, rich purple heartwood with the Yggdrasil. I think I'm pronouncing that more or less correct.
Yeah,
the Tree of Life on there.
Yes. So again, I think the dice are the same in all of these. I'm just going to double check, and as I'm trying to pry open this thing without launching the dice in it.
They're all
same dice. Same dice. Okay, perfect. So let's see this one because I'm not going to make them try and spell that. Let's do tree.
Tree.
So if you're wanting to be on this one, tree is your word for this one. So
okay. So we're going to our next question here. Overwatch. Was there ever a show idea that you came up with that you took a hard pass on? Either touchy subject matter or no access to the proper resources, unfamiliarity with the topic, etc. Any thoughts about reapproaching it?
We had a few that were just challenging.
Yeah.
I think when we first thought about doing the show that was on that we ended up pulling Mad Elf in for Matt. We kind of were concerned about doing a show that talked about like therapy and using
mental illness,
and dealing or not dealing. I shouldn't say, but
accommodating
players in those situations, and also just the whole X card factor of how to handle those situations better, or even telling stories that are in challenging scapes. And it was something that we were really careful and cautious about, but there's kind of an extension of that show. There's a YouTuber, or a YouTube group, I should say. She's the face of it, but that is How to ADHD. And I kind of really would like to reach out to her and do a show with her, but just because and this year's been exceptionally hard for her. And her whole team, but she lost her mom earlier this year, and it was her whole world. But she does such a great job of putting a legitimate and focused and thoughtful face to all of the scope of ADHD. what it really means, and it opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and it still does every time she does another episode. So if you really want a good look at it, I highly recommend her channel and checking that out. But I would say I've always wanted to do a show on that, and it's a challenging show because it doesn't necessarily fit in the same topics of storytelling that we normally do, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on that. And one of the hardest things that we have is trying to get people onto our show because we can't have people right now.
Right.
And doing remote chats and stuff like that, because we do our recordings live, makes it even more challenging. So I think next year we're going to try to incorporate some of that. But yeah, I think that was one of them that really kind of sat with me as like, I kind of want to explore that a little bit more, but I'm not entirely sure. Thank you, Shibuji.
And there was a weird, like, thing that kind of popped up around that time, because I remember there was the I'm trying to remember what they called it, but it was like the accessibility guide or something like that, for like the RPG accessibility guide or something.
Yeah.
And it was just like a list of considerations, essentially, and there was like a questionnaire for your players of like what their limits are as far as storytelling goes. Are there any triggering sort of things that they don't want included in the game, in the story, things like that. And I remember there being this weird political thing that like popped up where like a bunch of people were very against that and saying like, oh, well, you're just a bunch of easily triggered snowflakes or something like that if you need to fill out a questionnaire, because if D&D is too dangerous for you to play, and when you sit down at the table, you consent to anything, like, basically if you agree to play, you agree to anything that goes on in that story. And I'm like, that's not how consent works.
No.
And that's not how common damn courtesy works.
That's not how conversation works, buddy.
If someone at my table, like, I assume, we say it all the time, assume everyone at your table is your friend. Even if you just met them, you operate with them as if they're your friend. And if your friend starts having a panic attack, what do you do? Do you look at them and go, well, you need to toughen up, buddy? Or do you go, oh, crap, did I do something that gave you a panic attack? How do I not give you a panic attack? How can I stop the one that's already existing, Like, I don't understand that. But I think, like, to bring it back around to Overwatch's question, I think any idea that we've had that has kind of strayed into those, like, political realms that really honestly shouldn't be political. Like, I would love to do a show on, like, LGBT topics.
Oh yeah.
And like inclusivity and stuff like that. Now as a white person, I'm not sure I'm the person to talk to about racial, inclusivity and stuff like that.
Right.
But as far as like LGBT inclusivity, I'm at least a couple of those letters.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could authoritatively speak on that topic a little bit. But at the same time, like, there's a part of me that gets really anxious about the topic because I wonder if it's more, it's been so politicized that I wonder if it's more trouble than it's worth.
It's hard to tell sometimes.
But then at the same time, if we we lost listeners over it, would those be listeners we wanted in the first place?
Yeah. Do we want to create? I don't want people to be uncomfortable, but and at the same time, I think a lot of our topics are eye-opening as far as some of the ideas we have, but yeah, we've got, like, I do feel worry about doing some topics, especially in the last year, because people are more stressed, and it is a concern.
It's become a very contentious landscape here in America, especially, and I know in a couple other places in the world too. So yeah, I mean, I think any topic that dances along those lines are the ones that I get really anxious about, that I think we've shied away from. But who knows what the future may run. I think there's, what we keep coming back to is that there's enough topics in game systems and storytelling styles and such like that, how to handle horror as a theme, or how to handle comedy as a theme.
Or how to help your players with backgrounds so that they feel like they're part of the story and not just floating around in it.
Right. Like, I feel there's enough ground to still cover there that we don't have to venture into potentially inflammatory topics,
Yep.
As much as I don't think some of those topics should be inflammatory, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but we'll see how the community rolls things out.
Yeah.
So, if you guys are interested in stuff, please make some suggestions. We will definitely put it on a list and consider it. Sarah and I review every couple weeks all of our shows and recategorize things. And if you've got suggestions that you really want to get in, like, we have a contributor level on Patreon that we definitely go to. But if you think you've got something special or you've got a connection for us, DM us. Mm-hmm. Let us know. We might grab you on that and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't hesitate to reach out to us on Discord, on Twitter. Just DM us if you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of joining the Discord and stuff like that.
All right, I'm going to do this giveaway for this the purple one.
Okey-doke.
All right. What did I end up with at 9? So that's going to be, let's see.
I think I know who that is.
Who is it on the list?
Is that our last one? Are you rolling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Yes.
9? Okay, so because there's 5 people who wanted.
Yes.
I believe that's Sparkle Motion.
All right. Well, enjoy
the aforementioned Sparkle Motion.
Funny that.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Speak of the devil, and they may appear.
That's right. Let's keep doing that. Matt Mercer. I would really
love
to
there's
have.
Funny story about Matthew Mercer, right? Funny story about absolute treasure Laura Bailey.
Yes. Oh God. She left the awards ceremony again to come play?
Again? No,
Didn't she this year?
They pre-recorded.
Okay.
Pre-recorded the show. So
she just looked really good.
She always looks really good. She's Laura Bailey.
That's true. She is a gem.
All right. I wouldn't be able to have her on the show though. I wouldn't be able to talk.
We'd have to do it remotely.
Yeah.
And only voice. So
it'd be like, okay, Sarah, did you have any questions for Laura Bailey?
Yeah. Sarah had a question last week. Here it is.
Right.
All right, so our last mini dice vault is Celtic Knotwork, and this is that the other wood that it's just posted up. It's easier to use.
Yep. So some beautiful Celtic knotwork, and I think this wood is called Paduk.
Yes,
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly at all.
Marmaduke wood,
but it looks like Paduk.
Yeah, it does. Again, it's like that. It's like the Minecraft mod. I always look at the woods. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
So, if you're interested in this one, should we make them try and spell Celtic?
Not. Knot.
K-N-O-T.
K-N-O-T. Not in the live chat. If you are
Yes.
interested in that little keychain dice vault.
Yes.
Okay. So Sheebie-Jeebie.
Oh yes, my wife had a question. I actually really like this question too.
Really good question.
Go ahead.
When it comes to managing personalities at the table, what has been the most difficult situation you've dealt with? How would you advise a new storyteller on dealing with conflicting personalities?
It is a good question. If I was going to say, there's been difficult situations that have definitely happened at the table. And I think a lot of it comes down to both the player and the storyteller working in conjunction. I think bad situations come from players basically just getting frustrated and not seeing it as anything other than an adversarial situation. I think as a storyteller, you kind of have to always keep in mind that your players are not like you. They're their own people. They're going to have their own stresses and things coming into the story, and you've kind of got to manage that as a host. No different than if you're having a party. Like, some people are going to come to that party in a great mood. Some people are going to come to that party in a challenged mood. Some of those people are going to come tired. Some of those people are going to have other situations. And not everyone is going to know that coming into it. And you can run some very difficult situations. I can remember some games where there was clearly outside stuff being dropped on the table as the characters.
Yeah.
Sometimes even between two characters.
Oh.
We're using the game as a field of discussion.
Like Bob and Carol had a beef with one another, and so all of a sudden Thragnar and the Everlight had a problem with one another.
And if you thought passive aggressiveness was bad when people weren't talking about the topic, imagine now they're using characters to talk about the topic in an even more passive way.
Oh goody.
So.
Oh goody.
Yeah, and then on top of that, some of those games had drinking in them, which never never helps the situation
Oh, yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Alcohol always makes the situation better.
So I would say that when you've got challenges with personalities, some of the best things you can do with your players is just be understanding and be able to be the official who steps in and goes, hey, let's take this down a minute, 5 more minutes of this or less, or this conversation needs to stop right now. Let's just take a step back. You guys are going a little far. This hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
I know I've gone back and forth with players at your table that made it seem like we were in an argument when in fact we were just trying to get clarity, and it just never ended.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't find clarity because of 2 very different views of the same situation.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's basically what it is, and it's challenging. It really is. And as a storyteller, it can feel very frustrating trying to find the right weight to put against it and put with you.
Yeah, I think that's very true, because like there's a fine line sometimes between somebody's personality interfering with the game and that just being them, you know? And I think the thing you don't want to do is just like, you know, somebody might have a very vibrant personality. It's not necessarily bad. They're not being mean, but it may just not mesh with somebody else at the table.
Yeah.
And you don't want to like be like, hey, I know you're very outspoken and opinionated, but can you just not be?
Yeah.
You know, that's not a relaxing situation for them to come to your table and like be told essentially don't be yourself.
Right.
You know? So as a storyteller, you kind of got to moderate that and figure out where that middle ground is. And sometimes the solution is not to take the person who is doing the annoying aside and tell them to stop doing the annoying thing.
Right.
But to take the annoyed person aside and say, can you show a little more acceptance? They're not really doing anything wrong. They're excited, or maybe they just view things in a very mechanical way, or a very cinematic way, or just some way that conflicts with the other person.
Yeah.
And if you can get them to understand and empathize, that can oftentimes resolve things for you, instead of having to like, okay, well, stop being you.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely played games where people have been have definitely had traits that have been grindy for other players. And sometimes those are traits that they just need to be aware of. I know for you, it's with your misophonia, where if someone's chewing or eating something or drinking something, while you've got your headset on, you just want to peel the headset off and walk away for like an hour and a half.
I want to peel my skin off is what I want to do. Like, misophonia is for those of you who don't know the term, it's certain noises can set off your fight or flight response. And so for me, it's chewing, and especially so if somebody's on comms making chewing noises, like I will literally, and not figuratively, literally want to like lash out and punch something or run away, or both. So it's there have been times where people are like, are you muted? Yes, I was chewing. I was trying to be nice. Okay, thank you for being muted. You know? So everybody's been very nice about making that accommodation for me. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, and again, that's part of it is being able to communicate. You've got to communicate with your storyteller. You've got to communicate with each other where your limitation sits. And sometimes it's just that day. Sometimes it's all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think so. The first part of the question, I don't know if we ever answered this though.
Which is
what's the most difficult situation of personality conflict you've ever dealt with?
The most difficult.
Yeah,
that's a hard one. I definitely knew somebody was too competitive in a D&D game.
Yeah,
and that's weird. D&D being competitive is weird to me. Like, where you're competitive with other people in your D&D group. Yeah,
I think my personality conflict is the same sort of situation. It obviously wasn't the same game.
No.
But yeah, I think it was because we had one player who needed to win, and everybody else was there for the story.
Yeah, like the one game that I was involved in, there was basically a player who was there it was basically trying to lone wolf everything, and if we didn't follow what he was doing, he just would do it anyways. Like
Oh,
we would
yeah.
try and discuss out what we were going to do in the next scene, and he would literally just pass a note to the DM and be like, "I'm leaving."
I just take off. Yeah, I roll a stealth check to see if I can sneak away from the group and go do my own thing.
Yeah, and then or he would just flat out kill people that we weren't supposed to be killing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it would end whatever storyline was going in this one direction. And that was just, it was too much. It was too much of like, I have to win, I have to complete all these things, and look at how well I'm doing this. And I know one of yours is the whole like, I'm beating the mechanics of the system, therefore I'm beating the storyteller.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
precise. You know exactly the player I'm talking about.
I remember the situations.
You remember the situation. And it's so like Knox in the box in the live chat is saying is like there's no Oscars in D&D. There's no gold medals, no Stanley Cup. Chill out. And you're right, but the problem is that some people look at it as just any other game, right? Like you play Monopoly, there's win conditions.
Exactly.
You play Clue, there's win conditions. If you play D&D, there are mechanics you play by. There are situations you will be placed in where you will either be successful or not successful. Clearly, the win condition is to be successful always. And the way you do that is by gaming all the numbers and finding the little loopholes and, weird synergies between abilities so that you can always be successful in every situation and never have any conflict.
Yeah.
And then you get to be the big damn hero, and people tell stories about you because you win the day, always.
Exactly.
Instead of, letting yourself fail every so and then and seeing where the story goes. So, but I think, how did I deal with it is the big question there, and I don't know that I did.
No, you handled it as a storyteller to just walk away from it.
My solution was to walk away from it and just never ever game with that person again.
Yeah, I mean or just not invite him back to a table.
Yeah.
So,
but that's mostly because I'm very non-confrontational, and like I will turn myself inside out with anxiety. At the idea of even having that conversation of like, hey, you're kind of power gaming, can you not?
Exactly.
So that's unfortunately that's my foible, or and my thing to deal with, but it's not the best way to deal with it, but it was a way to deal with it. How'd you deal with your situation?
I never played with that group again.
You just walked away from the table?
Yeah.
You were a player?
I was a player.
Okay.
I was a player, they were a player, and the storyteller kind of liked the fact that they were a lone wolf and was just like, well, they're playing their character background. I'm like, what? This is literally ruining the game every step of the way. Mm-hmm. Like, anytime we do something, it was just adding another layer of function, and it was like I went to 3 game sessions like that, and then I realized I just wasn't enjoying it, and so I walked away. So, all right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, Sparkle Motion says,
okay.
we had a plan where everyone could have something to do and do their special.
Yeah.
And someone decided to just zone out and said pfft to the whole plan and took everyone's teamwork and threw it away, going, what's the problem? Well, it was a win until you went rogue. Oh, I guess I just wasn't listening and then missed that part. It was a 5-minute discussion. Caring to listen and allowing others to have some space is very important.
Yes.
I absolutely agree with that.
All right, let's get this one done. Ooh, okay, so this goes out to Knox.
Hey, congratulations, Knox.
Knox, you won the Celtic box.
All right.
So
I was unclear as to whether or not he wanted that.
Well, there is...
He only typed it in all caps. That. I want that. Not. Tell us how you really feel, Knox. Well, congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Yes,
we will get that right out to you.
All right. Yes, I will be messaging everything. Now, before we run out of time, we do have the final coup de grace box here, which is very nice. It is another Tree of Life box, but this is their full-size dice vault. Now, we do have a picture of both the outside and the inside of what this one looks like. So that's the exterior. It is the green with gold on black. And then that's the interior. So it's got its own rolling surface and dice tray and like a little mini position as well. So it's quite nice. So if you are interested in getting this final giveaway, let's call book. Good example. Let's go book.
Call it book.
I'm going to put it in my hand so you can get a shot. We can get a shot of this off to the one side, so you can kind of get an idea of the size of it.
Okie doke. Let me figure out how to use my phone here. Okay, that's not a bad picture.
All right.
Oh, did it go?
We'll find out here in a second.
Oh, I don't think it happened. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I gotta post it. Yay, technology. Yeah, so it's approximately, I would say, what is that, 5 inches by about 3 by 5?
Yeah,
like
maybe
that?
a little bit larger. Maybe just a little bit larger. But it's a really nice book. You can hear the snap close on the microphone here, like.
Yeah.
So it's all of these have amazing closures. The leather and everything is really nice. It's a good quality. They're fantastic pieces. They really are, and they'd be great for any collection.
Embossed foil. So yeah, it's really good. Really good.
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of ran out of questions here.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of like final thoughts for the year? Or does anybody have any last minute questions while we're thinking about the giveaway here?
Yeah, I would say that I guess my wish for this next year is I hope that we're able to get a few interviews in that we've been looking to do.
Yeah.
That we can expand a little bit and offer a few extra things that we've been thinking about doing as far as beyond just the podcast itself. We've got a few different ideas for that. And just see each other more.
Yeah, I would really like that.
You know?
I think one of the consistent grievances with our gaming group is that we all miss each other and we want to game in person. We want to hug each other. We want to you know just be there close and play a game face to face instead of fiddling with technology. As much as I've been singing the praises of Foundry and Dungeon Fog and stuff like that. I miss you guys,
Yeah. I miss my group. I miss my friends. I miss hugs. I really miss hugs. I miss knowing everybody's okay physically. But yeah, I hope that comes through this year, and I hope we can do that. Mm-hmm. Can you make the Ghostbusters in any game you know of? I want a proton pack and a trap.
I mean, you can do it in
Savage World.
Savage Worlds, Fate, any of the systemless or the settingless, generic systems.
Yeah.
Savage Worlds seems like it would be really easy to do.
Yeah, I like Savage Worlds is the first one that I could think of where you could add it immediately. I think you could play.
Didn't you guys play the Ghostbusters in?
We did. We
Was it a D&D game or was it your Shadowrun group?
No, it was a D&D game, but it was actually a custom setting.
Okay.
And we used the tropes of the characters, and it worked out pretty well. The DM did not catch it until the very end, so
you could potentially I don't know about a proton pack or something, but you could rig something magically up probably with a couple different interesting character classes in D&D.
I would think Shadowrun. You could use the Shadowrun system.
Yeah, I was about to say but there's no ghosts, but there totally
they're spirits.
But there absolutely totally is spirits and ghosts and stuff like that in Shadowrun. There's all sorts of supernatural stuff in there. So
and it would kind of work in the Johnson setting because it's mission to mission. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could definitely do something in there. Money's the key. No, I could see that.
I would love to do it completely straight-laced too. Mm-hmm. The Johnson comes and hires the group in some shady thing, and he's like, I've got this problem where old warehouse of ours where some of our old technology is stored is come up haunted. There's spirits there that are angry angered because of whatever reason.
Well, I mean, legitimately that's a thing.
So I thought to myself, who you gonna call?
And the Ghostbusters.
You guys, of course.
I didn't even think you were real. I thought that they were just a myth. They're just stories.
Well, sir, you've come to the right place. We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Nice. But no, I mean, legitimately, you do have spirits in Shadowrun, and you do have to take care of them. So, that's a thing.
Uh-huh.
So I think it would be, I think it would definitely be something you could do. So, doing
Ninjas and Super Spies.
Doing it in Palladium. I think you could do it in Palladium.
Palladium. Palladium's. The good thing and the bad thing about Palladium is that it is detailed enough
Yes.
to find just about any solution there. But yeah, Ninjas and Super Spies could be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Ninjas and Super Spies could be cool.
All right. Let's see if I can give this
I'm
away.
just a fangirl anytime anybody mentions Ninjas and Super Spies. I have a really good place in my heart for that. Soft place in my heart.
All right, let's see if I can give this one away. Let's go here.
What'd you roll? 6? Okay, one second. We are tallying up who won that one.
And I had to resort the order because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a straight order. So 1, 2, 3.
Ninjas and Super Spies. Knox in the Box says he's never heard of that. It's a one of the many sort of generic Palladium settings. It's not really a setting so much as it is a set of rules for a specific type of character, ninjas and or super spies. And so oftentimes, like when my groups played back in the day, we would use Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We'd probably play After the Bomb because that was the setting that we liked. Because it allowed your mutants didn't have to hide then, basically, because their mutant animals were everywhere. But we also allowed for Heroes Unlimited and Ninjas and Super Spies rules to be included. The great thing that Ninjas and Super Spies had was like 41 or something like that different martial arts styles.
Yeah.
That were all put in there that all had cool little unique tricks to them and styles and whatnot.
It was like later on when I did 7th, it made me feel a lot like the Sword Schools.
It was a lot like the Sword Schools, yeah. And so you could even have like character archetypes that were martial arts masters that knew like 2 or 3 different martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could flip between like Aikido if you wanted to be super defensive, but then if you needed to tear someone's face off, go into Pao Pat Mei leopard style kung fu. You know, and just go to town on them. So it was kind of neat. It offered some really good flexibility. There was some cool ninja gadgets in there. Some like bodybuilding exercises you could do, like that were almost like feats in D&D 5th edition that were like give you extra hit points and cool tricks you could do. Like you wouldn't take damage from certain types of maneuvers and whatnot. So
Yep.
It was good. It was good. Yep, an obligatory turtle reference. You're absolutely correct.
Yep. So, tally goes on this one to Sparkle Motion.
Hey, congratulations, Sparkle Motion. We will we'll get that right over to you.
Yeah, we will ship it to you. I know it's a far place to ship it to. Either I'll make you pick it up in a parking lot, under street lights so nobody notices. We technically have one more thing that we could give away really quick. So what I'm going to do is this. We have one more Dice-a-Pult here that we are going to give away, but it is not going to go out on this. What it's going to go to is we are going to ask people in the general chat next week for the new year, whoever posts on New Year's Eve Jumanji after the new year flips over. So it has to be after January 1st. If you post Jumanji in the general chat for us, as we will tally you up for this last catapult kit. So that'll be for the people who did not join our live chat tonight, but want to be part of this. You will get a catapult kit sent to you. We will do a drawing based upon that. So if you're listening for after the new year, so on January 1st, all you got to do is put Jumanji in the general chat, and we will pick a winner off of that. Randomly and get this shipped out to you so that you can be part of the giveaways as well.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to all of our winners.
Yeah. So this wraps up our show. Our next week topic is Tools of the Trade. So we'll be bringing some of the stuff that we talked about for Elderwood, as well as a few other pieces that we've picked up along the way.
Sure.
You can find us on Twitter at st_conclave, on Instagram at st_conclave, on MixLR, which you might be listening to us live at mixlr.com/storyteller-conclave. You can find our Discord link in our Twitter or on our website at storytellerconclave.com.
I want to give a big shout out to our Patreon members, as always. Knox in the Box, Sam, Arcane Asylum, Sparkle Motion. Thank you so much for supporting us month after month.
Thank you
we
so
really
much.
appreciate that. If you are listening to it live, you heard us on our Arcane Anthems pre-show music. And you can find them at patreon.com/arcaneanthems.
We also had some additional music from the Tasha musical concoction that he put together, which included music from Tabletop Music Bazaar, Tabletop RPG Music, and This is Bardcore.
Our intro music is Beyond the Warriors by Geefrog. You can find him at geefrogmusic.weebly.com. Our outro music is Only Our Footprints in the Sand by Midair Machine. You can find this at soundcloud.com/midairmachine/tracks.
We'd like to thank our families. Vicky, Sean, thank you for putting up with all of our crap. All of our friends who play D&D, and you, our listeners, we really, really appreciate everything this year.
Every single one of you. Thank you so much.
Have a happy holiday.
Good night.